Peter Schiff joins us from our Washington, D.C. bureau. Peter, thanks for joining us. Let me start out, actually, by asking you about this student loan issue, because I know that you're a little bit bearish on Sallie Mae. They had a rough morning, but actually picked up during the day of trade, with Congress saying that it's going to help buy student loans. Do you think the future looks at least a little bit brighter for Sallie Mae now and the student lenders?
No, not at all. Although I do think it looks a little bit brighter for students, because I think what's going to happen as the whole market for student loans implodes and it becomes harder and harder for Americans to borrow money to go to colleges, this is going to finally force market discipline on tuitions. And you're going to see, colleges around the country downsizing, laying people off, reducing their tuitions so that people can afford to go to college without borrowing a lot of money, just like our parents did. So I think there's a little bit of a silver lining in this story.
Okay, obviously a separate debate on how well colleges will do if governments start to put caps on how much they can charge students. But as far as
No, they're not going to put caps. The market will put caps, because if students can't borrow money, then they can't afford to pay as much for tuitions. And so in order to attract students, they're going to have to lower their tuitions.
Isn't there an implicit guarantee, though, for companies like Sallie Mae that the government will come in and provide the funding when needed?
There might be, but I don't think there's a real guarantee there. And, of course, the government doesn't really have any money. All they can do is print it. And, of course, the Federal Reserve has proved that they're willing to do that. That's why the dollar hit a new record low yesterday. And that's why oil prices hit a record high, because we're debasing our money and creating inflation.
Let me ask you also about another disappointment this morning, although the shares gaining as well. Merrill Lynch came out with a loss that was bigger than people expected, a $6.5 billion write-down, but still the shares rose in today's trade. Why are investors going in and buying shares of Merrill today?
Well, I think people have a confidence that the Federal Reserve is basically backstopping these firms and not allowing them to fail. I think if the Fed had done the right thing and allowed Bear Stearns to go under, Merrill Lynch probably would be in bankruptcy as well. I don't think they'd be able to attract the needed capital if the Fed wasn't there supporting it. But ultimately, I wouldn't buy stock in the company. I don't see where their earnings are going to come from in the future. I think these stocks are in serious trouble.
Peter, where would you buy stock right now? I know you have problems with retailers, or the big box retailers and other companies. What do you think is a good area for investors to be in right now?
Well, you got to stay clear of the United States. I'm very bearish on the U.S. economy, but I'm not bearish on the global economy. In fact, I'm very bullish. So what investors need to do is understand that the dollar is in decline, that Ben Bernanke is imposing a massive tax on Americans who own U.S. dollars. They need to invest abroad. People need to buy stocks in foreign countries so they can get their income in euros and Swiss francs and Australian dollars and Singapore dollars and Japanese yen. They need to buy commodities. They need to buy gold. They need to buy the things that are rising as the Fed is debasing our money.
All right, Peter. Unfortunately, the president and the prime minister bit into your time a little bit there. I hope you'll come back.